Okay, class, in this lesson, you will learn to multiply two different types of polynomials. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, in this example, number one, we will be multiplying a monomial and a trinomial. Okay, so here's a monomial, and then in the parentheses is the trinomial. So to multiply this, we are going to use the distributive property, whereby we multiply this quantity, or this monomial, with this first term, and then this monomial again with the second term, and then the monomial with the third term. Okay, so it would look as follows: 4x cubed times x squared plus 4x cubed times 3x minus 4x cubed times 4. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and just correct this for the sake of clarity. We're going to say it's going to be plus 4x times negative 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and multiply this out. 4x cubed times x squared becomes 4x to the 5th plus 4x cubed times 3x is 12x to the 4th. And then finally, we have 4x cubed times negative 4, and that's going to be negative 16x cubed. Okay, so if we were to just write this out completely, it would be 4x to the 5th plus 12x to the 4th minus 16x cubed. And that would be our answer. Now let's look at another example. In this example 2, we are now multiplying binomials. Okay, now there are a couple of ways of doing this. The first method I'm going to show you is what's called the table method. And with the table method, it is similar to just multiplying numbers. So let me give you an example here to the side. Let's say that we have the following. Let's say we want to multiply 15 times 12. Okay, so if we were to put this in a table, we would multiply 10 and 5, that would represent our 15, and 10 and 2, and that would represent our 12. And let me go ahead and change the color so that it's a little bit more obvious. Okay, there we go. So if we were to do the multiplication here, we would multiply 10 by 10, and we would get 100 here. And then we would multiply 10 by 5, and that would give us 50. Then we would multiply 2 by 10, and that gives us 20. And finally, we would multiply 2 times 5, and that would give us 10. And if we were to add up these four numbers here in black, we would get 100 plus 100, sorry, be 50 plus 20 plus 10. We add all of that up and we get 180. Okay, so that's the table method with just numbers. So let's go ahead and apply that to binomials. So over here we're going to draw a table again. Okay, and let's say that the top portion is my 5x and my negative 4, and then down the left side we would have 2x and 1. So if we were to multiply this out, we would get 2x times 5x, and that is 10x squared. Then we would multiply 2x by negative 4, and that would give us negative 8x. We would then multiply 1 by 5x, that just gives us 5x. And finally, 1 times negative 4, that would give us negative 4. Okay, so if we were to add all of these together, 10x squared minus 8x plus 5x minus 4, that would simplify to 10x squared. And then we would combine this right here. Negative 8x plus 5x would give us minus 3x. And then we would keep the negative 4. And that is our answer for multiplying these two binomials. Okay, so that is the table method. Now let's move on to the distributive property or the FOIL method. Okay, so with the distributive property method, here's what we would do. We would take the first term in red, that'd be 5x, and we multiply that by 2x plus 1. Okay, and that would equal 10x squared plus 5x. We would then take the second term of the first binomial, so this would be negative 4, and we would multiply that by 2x plus 1 and get negative 8x minus 4. Okay, so if we were to put all of that together, we get 10x squared plus 5x minus 8x minus 4. Okay, and we would combine these two terms because they are like terms, and we would get 10x squared minus 3x minus 4, which is exactly what we got using the table method. So using the table method and the distributive property takes a little bit of work, but there is another way. It's similar to the distributive property method. Another way is called the FOIL method. Okay, and the FOIL method is an acronym for the following. F stands for first, O stands for outer, I stands for inner, L stands for last. And let me go ahead and show you what I mean by first, outer, inner, and last. So we're going to go ahead and start with the same binomial. 5x minus 4 times 2x plus 1. Okay, so what we're going to do is multiply the first term. Okay, so this is my first term right here. Both of these terms. Okay, so this is my first. And so what we would do is multiply 5x and 2x. Then we would multiply the outer terms. That's right here. And so we would multiply 5x and 1. And then we will multiply the inner terms. And that would be negative 4 and 2x. And then we would multiply the last term. And we're going to go ahead and label it like this. Last term in green. So this is my last term. Okay, and that would be negative 4 times 1. Okay, so if you were to multiply this out, we would get 10x squared plus 5x minus 8x minus 4. Okay, we would then go ahead and combine these like terms, and we would get 10x squared minus 3x minus 4. And you see that we get the same answer again. So any of the three methods you can use, but as you become more proficient at this, I would highly recommend you using the FOIL method, because as you can see, it takes a lot less effort to multiply polynomials, whereas the distributive property takes a little bit of more work, both of these are essentially the same, but it's the distributed property method is slightly less efficient. And then, of course, if you use the table method, it takes a couple more steps. Okay. So now we're going to look at example 3, where we are multiplying a binomial and a trinomial. And the first thing that we're going to do is use the table method, and it will go as follows. So here we have a table, and we can go ahead and write out the components. 3x and 4 for the first binomial, and then for the trinomials we will write those down here. X squared, 2x, and then -1. Okay, so if we go ahead and multiply this out, x squared and 3x gives us 3x cubed. And then if we multiply x squared by 4, we get 4x squared. Then if we multiply 2x by 3x, we get 6x squared. And then if we multiply 2x by 4, we get 8x. And then finally, if we multiply -1 by 3x, we get -3x. And -1 by 4, we get -4. Okay, so if we write out all of the components, we get 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus 6x squared plus 8x minus 3x minus 4. Okay, so we can combine these like terms. And when we do, we get 3x cubed plus 10x squared plus 5x minus 4. And this is our answer. When we multiply the binomial of 3x plus 4 times the trinomial x squared plus 2x minus 1. So that's the table method. Now if we use the distributed method, distributed property method, okay, we would go and do the following. We would take 3x and we would multiply that by x squared plus 2x minus 1, and that would give us 3x cubed plus 6x squared minus 3x. Okay, so what I did was I took 3x and multiplied that by the first component to give us 3x cubed. Then we would take 3x again, multiplied by the second component, and we would get 6x squared. And then we would take 3x again and multiply that by -1 to give us -3x. Okay, so that took care of what's in red. Now we're going to take care of the last piece, which is in green. And we would take 4 and multiply that by the same trinomial, x squared plus 2x minus 1, and that gives us 4x squared plus 8x minus 4. Okay, then we would go ahead and combine all of these, and we would get 3x cubed plus 6x squared minus 3x plus 4x squared plus 8x minus 4. Okay, now we would combine like terms. So this is a like term. Both monomials have a degree of 2, and then we would combine this with that. Those two monomials have a degree of 1, and when we do, we would get 3x cubed plus 10x squared. Okay, that's 6x squared plus 4x squared, that's 10x squared. And then we would get plus 5x, and that comes from -3x plus 8x. That gives us 5x. And then finally minus 4. And that is our answer. Okay, hopefully that made sense to you. If any of this was confusing, or if you need a refresher, please go back to the beginning of the recording and listen to this again. Thank you.